Okay. Hello and welcome to the fourth Love Your Data webinar. These webinars about research data management are produced by CSC, IT Center for Science. In this webinar, we will discuss sharing and opening research data and mention various services that enable you to share data within a project or with a wider audience. Good science requires good data management. I will first give my presentation and then I'm happy to answer your questions. You can either post them on the chat or raise your hand and ask for the mic after the presentation. You are probably already familiar with writing data management plans. These can sometimes seem like a lot of extra work and annoyance, but the reason funders today are asking for them is that they want to support research by enforcing good planning. If you haven't thought about consent, rights management, how to store data and document it well, and agreed with your colleagues on how to handle different issues about your research data, many kinds of problems might arise later on. It may even hinder publication of data altogether, which might be a lost opportunity. Sharing and publishing data gives you the possibility to get more credit, to speed up the research process, get more impact and citations and new partners. And by opening up and sharing your work, you also assure that it gets well documented and you can access and use it later yourself. You need to find out about the data policies of your funders and the organization you are affiliated with as early as possible. If you plan well from the start, things can go smoothly and you can get much value out of sharing data. Sometimes it is not possible to be open due to ethical or legal reasons, but with good planning, you might still be able to share at least some of your data. Think about the whole process, collecting and creating data, documenting how you process it, when and where you can share it, how can your colleagues access it, but also how you could make the most out of it by publishing and citing it. Often access is restricted due to the data containing personal data. With sensitive data, you have to be extra careful when choosing storage and processing environments. CSC offers safe environments located in Finland and fast connections. I will come back to these services in a minute. Ask yourself, at what point can you want to share different data sets and with whom? Also, think about which data can or should be deleted and how long access is needed. It might be a good idea to publish several versions of a dataset. Good science produces fair data. That the data is findable means it has a landing page with good metadata. That is information about the creators, a good description about the dataset, keywords, and so forth. The metadata should also contain a persistent identifier that always takes you to the landing page of the dataset and that you can use when you want to cite the data. Accessibility means that there on the landing page is information available about how you can get access to the data, maybe a download link or maybe a form that you can use to ask for access to the data. It also means that the metadata is available even though the data doesn't even exist anymore. Interoperability means that the data and the metadata uses common and preferably open formats and vocabularies. Reusability means that it is clearly licensed and that it can be transferred and handled well in a digital environment. You can learn more about metadata and persistent identifiers in the second Love Your Data webinar, the one about data discovery. There are many types of data in research. Some data might be taken from open data sources that can be cited, but some data is really created by researchers for researchers. It can be measurements or corpora or other kind of high quality validated research data that has high value in reusability. Maybe you can share this type of generic datasets that are appreciated by colleagues from sometimes several fields of science. Or maybe your dataset is very specific and you have done a lot of work collecting, processing, analyzing data to answer a specific research question. Your data maybe isn't easy to reuse, but it still is valuable as evidence underpinning your results. By publishing it, you can cite it, and voila, you have an extra output of your research. But besides this mature or ready data, there might be many other steps or versions that come to being along the way while you are doing your work. Think about it. Is there really any reason not to share, be open and transparent? Be as open as you can and as restrictive as you have to. There are lots of different services that can be used in different stages of the research process. DMP Tuuli is not produced by CSC, but I still want to mention it as it is so important and open for all to use. CSC produces many services that are secure to use as they are designed for research use, and they are located here. We have metadata catalogs like Etsin and B2Find and storage services like IDA or B2Share. About those, there is more information in the third Love Your Data webinar. IDA and B2Share can be used by projects also to share data with links or with persistent identifiers. We also host many services that curate and store data like Paituli for geodata and the Language Bank of Finland. Most of the services are free for the end user, often provided either by the research organizations, the Ministry of Education and Culture, or by the EU. We are also happy to provide tailored services according to separate agreements and conditions. You can find more information on our web pages or just get in touch. There really is a lot of different kinds of research data. Data is often accumulating and needs different kinds of management to be fair, that is citable and well documented. Sometimes you might want to provide an API, or sometimes very restricted access is required. Think about what kind of documentation you need for reproducibility and citations, and what is feasible granularity for publishing, versioning, and so forth. There are also different technical levels of openness, other than access and findability. Availability is also a part of openness. Remember, it is always a good idea to give your research dataset a license. We recommend CC BY or CC 0. By creating metadata and using identifiers, you can ensure that the information about your data is found. The metadata can be harvested to national and international services, and the persistent identifiers and links will guide people to your data. Publishing data as files to download is not always the ultimate way to make your data accessible, though. Sometimes an application makes the data more useful and easier to approach, understand, and study. For this, there is a separate service provided by the Ministry of Education and Culture. It is called AVA. We have many different kinds of data in AVA already. Some data is continuously updated. and some data is open for crowdsourcing. AVA offers download options, open source code, and APIs. Open science is transparent and it makes research well documented. By publishing information, you can also claim credit and point to relations between different sets of information. Think about it. Is it possible for someone else to understand your research so well they could repeat it? Or use some of the outputs for something else? There are lots of research infrastructures in Finland that produce data. You can also refer to them and search for infrastructure in a database that is provided by the Ministry of Culture and Education and produced by CSC. Let's look at some more specific needs. Sensitive data is defined as data derived from human subject. It includes information that qualifies as personal information consented for research purpose, but not for fully public dissemination. Data management means added security for legal and policy requirements, such as the General Data Protection Regulation. Remember to take care of all ethical and legal issues concerning the sensitive data. Some general commercial services might have terms of use that state that when you upload your data and store your data in our services, you give us and our companions a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative works and communicate, publish, publicly display and distribute such content, and so on. So be careful out there and think twice before you put anything in a free but commercial service. It is important to use services that are designed for research and which are legally interoperable and secure. CSC offers transparent and safe choices. The researcher's freedom comes with responsibility, a responsibility that cannot be outsourced. Also remember that technical solutions can take you only so far. The weakest link is often the human factor. So be sure that all involved parties take their responsibilities seriously and handle personal data with care. Safe storage is important. But sensitive data still can be fair data. It should be fair in the sense that it needs to be carefully handled and well managed and documented. Note also that personal data can only be used for the consented purpose. The ePOTA service is the perfect service for sensitive data because the environment is securely integrated with the user's own environment. Many services use our rights entitlement systems. We also recommend you study the Finnish Social Science Data Archive's Guide for Data Management. It provides good practical guidance that comply with legal and ethical regulation. Elixir is an example of an environment for sensitive data. It offers secure computing environment and storage as well as access control. At CSC, we have been doing digital long-term preservation for some time already. Preservation of digital resources for years, decades, and centuries takes a lot of planning. The Ministry of Education and Culture is currently expanding the preservation services from cultural heritage to research data. You can read more about this on the avointi.fi web pages. Thank you for joining today. This was the last for now in our Love Your Data webinars, but all webinars are still available on the web. And please let us know if you would like to hear something more, and maybe we will be back. We also hope for response. And please, if you have any questions now, I'll try to answer them. No questions. Well, thank you for participating, and you're always welcome with questions. Just get in touch. Thank you.